I usually do, or at least I don't know if anybody else notices, but I notice that I do it, and that is when there's an anime announcement, I'm like, it's time to try that manga and see what it's about, and of course, today's video is exactly what this manga review is. Hello friends, happy Friday, so very excited that you're here. I do want to start this video off with an apology. I have been up since 3:30 a.m. this morning, and usually I don't film on days when that happens. Not that this has happened in a long time, but I was so very excited to film this review, talk about this manga. I was thinking right before filming, I was like, if there's any manga that can compete with the shock and the surprise I had with The Villainess's Guide to Not Falling in Love, which I do have a first impression video of, it would be this manga, and that is Secrets of the Silent Witch. I'm going to be reviewing volume 1 and volume 2 of doing like a first impression. I was so hoping like volume 3 would be like, you know what, we're shipping early, and no, alas, that didn't happen. This series surprised me so hard, and when I heard that there was a lot of controversy around this anime announcement, I mentioned in a previous manga news video, I don't know which one, but I know I mentioned it, but yeah, there was a lot of controversy about it because I guess the news coming out of Japan that this is one of the most anticipated anime coming out in, I think, like 2025. And US fans said no. We're done, nada, it's not. And with that, I guess a lot of people were upset. Maybe this was low-key compared to Frieren. I'm not really sure, to be honest. But when the news came out that this was a Josei/shoujo, people were like, no. Of course, that's gonna like raise some ire online, and it did. But it's funny because it was actually because of that controversy, that's like, you know what? I want to form my own opinion and get to know this manga, see what it's about. There's a person on X that I have to shout out, and her name is Violet, and I remember she was one of the Shoujosei people that I follow who was really upset actually at the Shoujosei community because she was like, what is this, a joke? Like, nobody is saying anything about this. I just mentioned that I got it, and I'm a week late on this review in case if she's watching it. It was coming. I read the volume 1 at 4 a.m. this morning, and then I read volume 2 at 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. I loved it. I strongly feel that as a community, we are sleeping on this manga. It blew my expectations out the water, but before I start rambling about how much I love this manga, let me first tell you what this manga is about, because I definitely did not. I know I checked out the first chapter or whatever the preview is on Amazon. I did not read the blurb. I actually read the blurb this morning because I was like, what is officially this manga about so I don't give spoilers? Well, it's about our main heroine. Her name is Monica, and she is known as the Silent Mage. She's one of like the great 7 mages in this world. Nobody has been able to do what Monica has done, and that is when somebody's using their talent called Magecraft, they have to chant. Like everybody has to chant as a mage to use their abilities, to use their powers. Not Monica. Monica, no, she can do it internally and boom, be able to use her magical abilities and whatnot, or use these magical abilities, I should say. And people are blown away by that. And not only is she able to do the impossible by doing that, she also is extremely powerful. And in the opening, we see her take down, or at least hear the rumor that she has single-handedly taken down a dragon. No casualties, nobody was hurt, and it's mentioned when the mages come together, there's a bunch of them, and even a bunch of mages can't defeat this dragon. But yet Monica, with her lack of chanting here and her very anxious self, did it. And that was the thing. She's known as the Silent Mage and learned how to use this magic without chanting because she has a lot of social anxiety, overwhelming, to the point where she was like, rather than learning how to overcome her social anxiety and be significantly less shy, she's like, I need to find a way to be able to use my magical abilities and chant without actually chanting. And she does. So she gets a mission of sorts. This very quiet, shy mage who lives by herself, is very much a recluse, like not in a bad way, but is very much a recluse, gets the mission. You need to go infiltrate this academy and you need to go protect the second prince, but you can't tell him that you're his guard and protecting and watching over him. She is overwhelmed. And so the beginning of this manga starts with that, and wow, it was it was so magical. But even before that, it had like a prologue, and it was one of the very few times, at least in a long time, where I was reading and I just started feeling giddy. I started feeling giddy that I'm like, this is one of those fantasy novels, or fantasy manga, excuse me. It was like my previous reading heart who loved dark fantasy and fantasy in general, and it was just like, I'm seeing this in manga. And it's so funny because just the other day I was telling myself, you know, I don't need in-depth world building, and then I dive into this and I'm like, there's world building, and I got so excited because I feel like that's just really rare in the fantasy that I personally read. And so I was very excited that it's opening up with the dragon. I was like, oh my goodness, we got dragon slaying, we got mages, we have danger, and people are freaking out, and you're like, what is gonna happen? Because you're hearing all of these odds, and then we hear the news of the silent witch here, that she has taken down this dragon, and then she takes down a horde of small dragons, and I'm like, this is so cool. It was awesome, y'all. It was really awesome. I was so excited. It's interesting saying that because it was super awesome, right? And the whole thing was awesome. Blowing 5 stars for both of these volumes. But then you really meet Monica. You meet Monica the person, not Monica the silent witch. And I haven't really seen Bocchi the Rock, but you know, the pink hair girl, the main heroine, she really has extreme social anxiety. And I feel like her and Monica can bond over that social anxiety because the expressions that Monica makes is hilarious. And I feel bad saying that though, because there's a lot of humor that takes place because of Monica, because of that she has this anxiety, but anxiety is not a laughing joke. And I felt very conflicted as a reader because I've never read a heroine like Monica before that had this extreme of anxiety of where she can't introduce herself. She stumbles over her words numerous times. I've never seen that. And so it was very engaging for me when it comes to that, but it was also funny when I was reading. But again, anxiety is not a laughing matter. I struggle with anxiety a lot. I will add to that though, on a serious note, I really feel like Monica is one of the most nuanced characters I've ever read. You don't see a lot of her backstory. In fact, there's only 2 scenes that vividly come to mind that I picked up on when reading where we see that backstory, and it is painful. And I was very upset with many people surrounding Monica and that they just treated her like crap, in my opinion. I'm like, what is this? Just because she has this anxiety, this extreme shyness, and she does what people would not think or expect of, you know, well, I'm just going to try and chant it in my mind rather than say it out loud so I don't have to talk. In fact, there was a gag or like a 4 coma at the end where she's like, I need to find a way to be able to introduce myself, but without speaking. And I thought that was pretty funny. I was like, I could see her figuring out a way though. But the people around her, I feel like they just don't take her as seriously, or they blow her off because she has this shyness. And I was so irked. There is a character, his name is Mr. Lewis, and it's a shame, y'all. It is a shame. His character design, the way he looks is amazing. I love his hair. I love his braid. Seemed like a really cool guy. But of any person I have the most beef with, it's him. Because I'm like, you're pushing things onto our mate. She's telling you, I don't think I can do this. And I'm like, you are manipulating her to go out and be this guard. She has 0 experience. Yes, I get where he's coming from, that because she has no experience guarding and she's just so shy, the prince here is not going to expect her to be his guard. He's just not. And so I get that. But I really hate how I feel like he undermines her through the volume. He's not the bad guy. I just personally, I've got beef with him. I've got a lot of beef with this character. And I'm just like, it's a shame, buddy, because your design looks so good and so cool. Anyway, I didn't like him. And so I do feel like there's other people who are just not as accepting of who she is. And when you find out those glimpses, I was trying to say earlier, those glimpses of those backstories, or her backstory, excuse me, it is heartbreaking. Future me is not ready for the pain that I know her backstory is going to give me, because it just felt like a hard yank on my heartstrings when we see those moments, especially in volume 2, when somebody physically hits her to get her to acknowledge them. And I have not seen that in manga before. For me personally, I've seen bullying, and heck yeah, I felt like that was a bullying moment. There was nothing that character, no justification for them, period. So I've seen bullying, but I've just never seen bullying in this kind of way, and then see that direct internal reaction and trying to internalize it. Yes, I'm trying to think of the word, trying to just, I don't know how to finish that sentence. And I guess that would be a great point to lean in. I've never met a character like Monica who loves numbers. It was deeply refreshing to read a character who is obsessed with them. It's sad because some of the obsession comes with formulas can't fail you. Formulas can't hurt you. They can't bring you pain. They're either wrong or right. And she does everything in her power to make those formulas perfection, to make them right. Because at the beginning it explains when a mage is mage crafting or mage chanting, mage crafting, yeah, I had it right. When they're using their abilities, they make these formulas and they have to perfect those formulas. They have to say the chant correct. If they don't, things are going to go really bad. And so Monica loves numbers. Well, you see one of the first gifts that she got, somebody's calling her weird and another girl calls her weird, but that girl was okay because I really liked her in the second volume. But she loves these numbers. And so I was really amazed by that and how she really zones in. She can catch up on flaws. If there's anything wrong with the formulas, boom, she catches up on it, which really is interesting how it actually plays a role in the second volume. I loved volume 1, and I'll be honest, I didn't think volume 2 could live up to the hype and the excitement I had in volume 1. Like, there's just no way. Like, this volume surprised me, and I was like, I will admit I was sleeping on this, and I was wrong. I was wrong. And so I came into volume 2 thinking, okay, it's gonna be good. But y'all, it was great. It was a fantastic sequel that just blew me away. I mean, I set the bar really high when it came to expectations because of how much I love volume 1 with the world building and the characters. I really love how, like, this mystery sort of thing, I can't really explain in depth because it'd be spoilers, but I'll just say this mystery thing that's happening leads into this volume and how Monica is such a smart individual. And again, it just frustrates me that people blow her off because of how she's not able to hold these conversations with people outside of her familiar. And let's just say that her familiar, this cat, is so cool. I loved him very much. He had some great shenanigans, and I'm so glad that he is in Monica's life. She needs someone like him who will just accept her faults and all, and her timidness and her shyness, because again, she's an extremely smart individual. We see that shine with those numbers in this volume and how, because of her love for numbers, she's able to get close. He's not on here. He's on the back. She's able to get close to the prince, who is one shady individual. He's not my least favorite character. That would be Mr. Lewis, hands down. But I don't like the Crown Prince at all. I really agree with the light novel creator, or the light novel creator, when she had a note at the end of volume 1 saying that you can tell that they may seem really kind, but there's the way that they're drawn in the art style. It's like, that there's still some badness lurking underneath. Does that make sense? Because they seem really sweet, seem really charming, and I'm just like, dude, no. I ain't falling for this. I ain't falling for this at all. And I feel like volume 2 just solidified some ideas that I had. I can't say some of them because it'd be spoilers, but I really feel like this dude just does not care for the people around him, which is upsetting because he has a close inner circle. I was really upset. So there's a guy, he's very mean. I feel like he's a very tundra character, but he's so sweet. Okay, he's not sweet. I'm calling him sweet because I'm like, you precious little bean. Like, when you get his backstory, I'm like, gambare, buddy. I'm like, thank you, Monica, for just having compassion on this young man, because the prince certainly didn't, and he's supposed to, in my opinion, because it's like this young man seems like he's at death's door. I mean, it's really bad what's about to go down. And the prince is like, oh, I think, he's having this issue. And he's like, I should go check on him. And then he doesn't. And I'm like, what are you doing? Now, maybe that there's something in volume 3 that's going to be revealed, because it does end on a cliffhanger with volume 2 and the situation's not wrapped up yet. So I'm like, maybe you can prove me wrong, but I'm like, I doubt it. I doubt it, buddy. But I will say that was a really great scene when it involves Monica and you really find out how she herself feels about her abilities, her magical abilities, and how she really views it as a curse. And I was just very shocked, and that add another layer to the nuance of her character, because I'm like, you're one of the strongest, if not the strongest mage, and you're saying that your abilities, your talents are a curse? It really leads into her wanting to protect this young man who's giving his all and really wanting to meet the expectations of his family. And she's like, I want to do everything I can to help protect this young man and the talent he has, and to see it as a gift. I am hoping, so hoping, that that theme or situation is explored in the next volume, because I was mind blown. Y'all, if I was like in an anime, my hair would have been going back and I would have been shocked because I never expected Monica to have these feelings. I thought just some of her attitude towards her own gifts was just because of the shyness and people wanting to use her gifts for the greater good, I guess. I wouldn't say for selfish reasons, unless it's Mr. Lewis, because that was selfish, but anyway. So I was just really blown away how she felt, and she just from the volume 1 and how timid and fearful she was, and she still is, that's still her, but into the second volume of you see those subtle changes in her. You see her where she can finally say good morning, even if she sort of stumbled over her word and it came out a little bit wrong. She was still able to say it. She was still able to say thank you. You're seeing those subtle growth and changes in her, and I'm here for it. I'm like, I love you, Monica. You are best girl. She is so inspiring because I know that has to take so much effort for her, and you see that in the manga in both volumes. You're seeing that what she's doing, it is no small feat. She is overcoming this huge obstacle in front of her because of her shyness, yet she's out there, she's doing it, she's making friends. And speaking of friends, this young woman here, I loved her. I never even disliked her from the first moment we met her, even though I could see how she would come across rude, but she has genuinely befriended Monica. I'm thankful she's in Monica's life, that even when she said things about the numbers and Monica being obsessed with them and she said it's weird, she still befriended Monica. She still stood by her side, and I'm like, thank you, Lana. Thank you. You're amazing. You're great. I'm really hoping we see more of her, that she continues to befriend Monica. Monica needs that kind of friend for sure. And there is another lady. Shout out to this character. Her name is Isabel. And I'm not going to say her involvement with Monica, but she has some involvement. And I will just say, because it's the only thing I could say that would be the least spoiler thing, is in this moment, Isabella, is acting like a villainess. And Monica comments, villainesses are amazing, because there was something very specific that Monica wanted at this academy that she's going to, but it was sort of far-fetched for her to get that. And so Isabel made a way as a villainous character, and my heart loved Isabel so much. I laughed every time she was on page, and I just had to mention this because it was my favorite moments, because I'm like, girl, Monica, villainesses are amazing. That's why I love villainous manga and manhwa. It's always so good. So I very much resonated and related to Monica in this moment, and so I loved Isabel. She is another very wonderful character that's in Monica's life that I feel like is in her corner, deeply supports her and encourages her and wants nothing but the best for her. Again, I laugh every time she's on page, but it's also like happy laugh and feeling good because Monica has somebody that's seen her for the person she is, not just for her magical abilities or anything she can do, but just as an individual that she is excited and feels blessed to actually know. The world building, I know I mentioned that in the beginning, it does feel very fantasy to me. How would I describe that? I'm not 100% sure because I don't know. I guess maybe Yona of the Dawn would be the closest one. There's not a map yet. I know Yona of the Dawn has a map. There's not a map. I wish there was. I'm hoping there will be, but I do feel like, you know, Yona of the Dawn, the world in that feels very large. You know, there's other nations, there's other countries. This one feels very similar, even though we don't see that. You do get this very strong impression that there is a large, I was gonna say fight. I don't think it's the right word, but there's 3 different princes. And this one, we're closely following the second prince, and we're seeing how different people who are in very powerful roles and prestigious roles, how they are supporting him. And so I got this heavy impression, even if we're not seeing it like very huge like right now, that there's other places, I don't know about nations, but there's other places with powerful people who are backing maybe the second prince or maybe the first or the third. And it's mentioned, nobody really knows who's going to take the crown after the current king when he passes away, or who the successor will be. He hasn't said yet. And so I say all that, and I hope it made sense. I feel like there's just this, again, this really strong impression that this world is big and we're only seeing a fraction of this world. And it felt very fantasy in that there's no pulling out, not that I've read other series, but I guess I felt very grounded that there is magic in this world, that there's dragons, we have familiars, we have spirits, and it's interesting seeing how they interact with certain people and how it's different than, say, like another character interacts with their familiar. I am just very excited as a whole to have discovered this series. I am excited for that anime. Like, this, again, was one of the reads that I picked up that I feel bad. I had no really expectations coming in, and yet it knocked it out the water, and I'm like, I am desperate for volume 3. Easily one of my favorite things I've read this year, purely from the shock and surprise of how incredible the storytelling is, the world building, and the character development, like all of it, and the art style as well. Like, it all comes together, making this magnificent story that I'm like, it has way too little reviews on Goodreads and Amazon when I left reviews this morning. I mean, the light novel has a whole bunch, but right now I'm just gonna stick with the manga because I'm very happy with it and I don't want to overwhelm myself reading too many light novels. I know I just reviewed one last week. I have another light novel actually on my TBR right now, but I'm taking it slow. But I would definitely be interested in picking up the light novels later on because of just how much I love this. And I can imagine that the actual light novel has so much more world building and probably even seeing more into Monica's heart, into her mind, and you know, the things that she struggled with and the things she's overcoming. Like, girl, you're doing great. You're doing great, Monica. I'm so proud of her. Like, I love her. I love her. I was thinking today, I said, I hope somebody, when the anime gets closer, when it comes out, somebody please make some merch because I need her represent in my collection. So I would highly, very highly recommend this series if you're looking for something that's very new and it's ongoing, because volume 3 again comes out, I believe, next month. Hopefully I'm not wrong, but 2 volumes and they're not that long as you can see. But if you're looking for a really great fantasy series with no romance, at least as of right now, and you're looking for some political intrigue but not overwhelming, and you really want a character where you can see the character development, like it's not something that just happens rapidly, but you see that growth happening steadily over time and how satisfying it is, and a great cast of characters. Even if I have issues with Mr. Lewis, I still really do like all the characters as a whole. It's a very engaging and compelling story. Cannot wait for the 3rd volume to release, and we'll definitely be stalking news about the anime because this was so very good and well surpassed my expectations. But I would love to hear from you, friends. What are some recent fantasy reads that you dove into like, wow, this is really good? I would love to know. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. Bye!